Why in the F is that security guard all up on Sophie Cunningham? And look, I think there is a reason she got up in Sophie's face. And I don't think there was any need to sort of bow up to Sophie like that.
The scene was set during a critical WNBA playoff game, a high-stakes moment where every emotion was amplified. The Indiana Fever had just secured a hard-fought victory, advancing to the semi-finals. As the final buzzer sounded, the bench erupted in cheers. Among them were star players like Caitlin Clark, Chloe BB, and Sophie Cunningham. However, an unexpected injury to Odyssey Sims momentarily paused the celebration. As Sims was being attended to on the floor, her teammates naturally gravitated towards her, showing concern and support. Sophie, clearly hampered by a leg brace, made her way to a position near half-court, cheering for her team, eyes glued to the action, her enthusiasm unmistakable. She was nowhere near the scorer's table, let alone stepping onto the actual playing surface. She was simply reacting from the designated sideline area, well within bounds. Yet out of nowhere, a WNBA security officer, described by many as the league's very own rent-a-cop, strode purposefully towards Sophie. The officer leaned in, shouting aggressively, as if Sophie had just stormed the court or instigated a riot. The visual was startling. An injured player, clearly immobilized by a significant leg contraption, being verbally accosted for the simple act of cheering. The incident was not just shocking, it felt like a deliberate act designed to overshadow the team's triumph. Within minutes of the confrontation, the clip exploded across social media platforms. Fans were not just confused, they were livid. The online world buzzed, and not with discussions of the Fever's pivotal win or Lexi Hull's game-changing plays, but with an outpouring of anger over how Sophie Cunningham, an injured and clearly restrained player, was treated like a dangerous troublemaker. The outrage was instant and absolutely justified. People couldn't comprehend how a professional security detail could act with such an aggressive and disproportionate response to a player merely celebrating her team's success from the sidelines. The sheer absurdity of the situation, coupled with Sophie's visible leg brace, painted a picture of baffling hypocrisy. This incident became an immediate viral firestorm, drawing accusations of a blatant double standard that pointed to a far more troubling pattern within the league. The public felt strongly that this was not merely an isolated error in judgment, it was a symptom of a deeper, more insidious targeting that has plagued Sophie's career.
And I think we all know that if there's one thing that male sports fans want to see in their spaces and on their screens, it's more of me.
Indeed, this confrontation was no anomaly. It felt like another chapter in a long-running narrative that has consistently cast Sophie Cunningham as the WNBA's unspoken villain. Sophie is known for being outspoken, incredibly confident, and unapologetically herself. She isn't afraid to challenge the league's often carefully curated narratives, making her a unique and, at times, polarizing figure. This unyielding authenticity, however, has made her a target not only for rival fan bases, but also for certain media outlets that seem intent on painting her in a perpetually negative light. When the league's own staff begins to treat her as if she were a criminal in the midst of a playoff victory, it undoubtedly crosses a significant line. Consider the glaring disparity. Clips quickly surfaced showing Caitlin Clark and Chloe BB standing almost shoulder to shoulder with Sophie, cheering with the same fervor and excitement. Yet, neither Clark nor BB received a similar tongue-lashing or confrontational treatment. No officer barked at Caitlin, no one leaned aggressively into Chloe, just Sophie. This glaring inconsistency fueled fan theories that Sophie is specifically targeted because she doesn't conform to what some perceive as the league's preferred storylines. Comparisons were drawn to how players like Angel Reese or Natasha Cloud might be celebrated for their passion in similar moments, while Sophie is often dismissed as entitled or out of control. The irony is palpable. Sophie handled the aggression with an almost defiant calm, standing her ground without backing down, refusing to be intimidated, even as the officer created an entirely unnecessary scene.
Odyssey Sims hit the floor very hard during the game last night, and her teammates came out to the floor to check on her, except, of course, the girls on the bench, Caitlin Clark, Chloe Bibby, Sophie Cunningham, they came to half court. Did not cross the line, by the way. But for whatever reason, we had a situation involving Paula Blart, mall cop. That's right, played this time in the role by Wheezy from Jefferson, the Jeffersons. Yeah, showed up last night to try to check Sophie Cunningham. Did she think Sophie Cunningham was about to run out there cause an incident? Sophie Cunningham's in a damn leg contraption. It's not even a brace, it's like a contraption.
This problem extends far beyond Sophie Cunningham alone. It appears to be a systemic issue impacting other stars who refuse to fit neatly into the WNBA's predetermined mold. Caitlin Clark, despite her undeniable impact and popularity, has reportedly endured 2 seasons of constant targeting on the court, hard fouls that often go uncalled, and media narratives attempting to downplay her revolutionary influence. The WNBA, it seems, has a problematic tendency to suppress star power when those stars don't align perfectly with their preferred image. Instead of embracing players like Sophie, who possess an undeniable, albeit polarizing, magnetism, the league often appears determined to tear them down. This is a monumental oversight, bordering on self-sabotage, especially for a league that consistently champions growth and viewership. Sophie Cunningham, whether the WNBA brass likes it or not, is one of the most popular players in the league. She trends constantly, her highlights generate immense clicks, and her very presence significantly boosts the Fever's profile. Even when she's sidelined by injury, fans remain deeply invested in her journey. This should be a goldmine for a league desperate for attention and expansion. Yet, instead of leveraging this popularity, the league allows moments like this confrontation to publicly embarrass one of its biggest draws during a celebration that should have been universally positive. The intense fan backlash was immediate and brutal. Within moments, hashtags like Free Sophie and WNBA Exposed began trending, dominating online discussions. Fans called out the league for what they saw as selective enforcement and a clear attempt to silence players who deviate from the accepted norm. Many drew parallels to past controversies, such as when fans were unfairly blamed for alleged racism after booing Angel Reese, or when Caitlin Clark's numerous hard fouls were consistently shrugged off as simply part of the game by league commentators. The comments directed at the security officer were merciless, labeling her everything from a power-hungry mole cop to the WNBA's latest clown show. While the language was harsh, it reflected a deep-seated frustration among fans who simply want to celebrate pure basketball. Instead, they feel constantly subjected to league officials generating drama out of nothing. This is the crux of the problem. The WNBA proudly speaks of growth, soaring ratings, and finally being taken seriously. Yet, every time a spotlight moment arrives, something like this incident occurs. Instead of allowing the Fever's incredible win to shine, the narrative becomes Sophie Cunningham being inexplicably shouted at by a security guard. This is not just bad optics, it is quite frankly self-sabotage, fueling a persistent public relations crisis that the league seems determined to worsen. Fans are exhausted with watching their favorite players treated like criminals for simple acts of team spirit. They are weary of constant double standards and being told everything's fine when their own eyes tell them a completely different story.
Odyssey was holding her right shoulder.
Amidst this firestorm of criticism, Sophie herself responded with a quiet defiance that only further solidified her fan base. She handled the situation with remarkable professional composure. She didn't lash out publicly, she didn't escalate the already volatile moment, but crucially, she absolutely did not back down. Her body language spoke volumes, conveying a clear, unspoken message. "You are not going to intimidate me." And fans, recognizing this quiet strength, rallied around her. Her social media was flooded with messages of support, reminding her that she commands one of the most dedicated and vocal fan bases in the entire league. The WNBA, it seems, has a chronic problem when it comes to consistently supporting and protecting all of its key players. Think of Caitlin Clark, subjected to 2 seasons of relentless physical play and a perceived lack of protection from referees. Consider Lexi Hull, who stepped up heroically in the playoffs, yet received barely a mention from league media. And now, Sophie, shouted at for the simple act of celebrating. This pattern is evident, and astute fans are connecting the dots with alarming clarity. The league aims to project an image of collective growth, but the undeniable truth is that much of this momentum is driven by a handful of undeniable, needle-moving stars: Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Paige Bueckers, and yes, Sophie Cunningham. These are the players who generate the headlines, the ratings, and the excitement. This perceived strategy of picking favorites and appearing to punish others is not just unfair, it is a short-sighted approach destined to backfire spectacularly. Fans are not ignorant. They observe the double standards. They recognize the hypocrisy. Eventually, this will inevitably lead to disengagement. People will cease supporting a league that seems intent on treating its own stars like adversaries. And when that happens, all the lucrative TV deals and corporate sponsorships in the world will prove insufficient to save them from irrelevance. The WNBA had an unparalleled opportunity to leverage the Fever's thrilling playoff run as a moment of pure celebration, a testament to resilience and talent. Instead, they allowed a security guard's aggressive confrontation with Sophie Cunningham to become the dominant headline. They could have highlighted Lexi Hull's heroic contributions, Aaliyah Boston's commanding presence, or the team's remarkable resilience, even without Caitlin Clark. Instead, the enduring image became mall cop antics. This isn't merely embarrassing, it is a profound act of self-destruction. At its core, Sophie Cunningham's crime was unequivocally simple: caring deeply about her team and celebrating their hard-earned victory. That was it. She was cheering from the sidelines, physically constrained by a leg brace. And for that, she was aggressively confronted as if she posed a genuine threat. If that singular incident does not illuminate everything you need to know about how the WNBA treats players who do not perfectly conform to its preferred mold, then what possibly could? And fans, rest assured, are not letting this one fade into the background. The outrage isn't subsiding, it is intensifying, fueled by every tweet, every clip, every meme that surfaces. The WNBA can attempt to spin this narrative in any way it desires, but the collective mind of the public has already been made up. Sophie Cunningham was clearly wronged, and the league, once again, appears petty and out of touch. So, Here we are, another night where the dominant story is not the brilliance on the court, but the frustrating, bewildering nonsense emanating from the WNBA's own actions. Fans are beyond furious. Sophie stood her ground, and the league, through its own inexplicable actions, embarrassed itself yet again. What do you think? Was this truly about enforcing a rule, or was Sophie deliberately targeted with a message? Share your thoughts below, hit that like button, and ensure you subscribe for more unfiltered sports analysis.